Lie back now, let your breathing slow. This is not a story that rushes, it does not hurry toward battles or victories. It simply walks beside you as you become Minamoto Musashi. You are born into a world that does not yet know your name. The air smells of wet earth and pine. The village is small, quiet, and framed by distant hills that soften at dawn and darken again at night. You do not remember your first years clearly, only impressions: wooden floors cool beneath your feet, the sound of wind passing through bamboo, the low murmur of adults speaking in tones that seem serious and important. Life feels solid, heavy, real. As you grow, you learn that the world is not gentle. You are not raised in comfort or softness. There is discipline in every movement around you, in the way people bow, in how tools are handled, in how silence is respected. Even as a child, you sense that survival itself is a form of art. You are restless. Stillness does not come easily. Your hands want to grip something: wood, stone, a branch fallen from a tree. You swing sticks long before anyone teaches you how. You strike at shadows, at invisible enemies, at nothing at all. There is no rage in it, only instinct, like breathing. Your childhood is shaped by absence. Absence of parents. Absence of guidance. Absence of safety. You are sent away early, pushed into the world before you understand what it demands. The road becomes your teacher, hunger becomes familiar. Cold nights carve patience into your bones. You learn to walk long distances without complaint. Your feet toughen. Your thoughts quiet. When you sleep, it is often under open sky, with stars scattered like silent witnesses above you. You begin to understand something simple and important. The world does not care who you are. It only responds to what you do. You meet monks, farmers, drifters, fighters. Each leaves something behind: an idea, a warning, a story whispered beside a fire. You listen more than you speak. Listening becomes a kind of training. When you first hold a real sword, it is heavier than you expect. Not just in weight, but in meaning. This is not a toy. This is a decision. Steel does not forgive hesitation. Your early battles are messy. You are not elegant. You are not refined. You fight like an animal fights, direct, brutal, honest. You win because you refuse to die. You survive because you accept pain without complaint. Blood becomes a familiar sight, not glorious, not celebrated, just present. You wash it from your hands in rivers that continue flowing as if nothing has happened. You realize then that nature does not judge, only humans do. As years pass, something shifts. You are no longer satisfied with winning. Victory feels empty when it comes too easily. You begin to question what skill truly means. Is it strength? Speed? Fearlessness? Or something quieter? You travel constantly. Villages blur together. Seasons pass almost unnoticed. Cherry blossoms fall and return again and again, reminding you that beauty is brief and unconcerned with struggle. You begin to appreciate moments of stillness: a cup of water, a warm bowl of rice, the sound of rain tapping against a roof. Your reputation grows, though you do not seek it. Duels find you. Schools challenge you. Names are spoken carefully in your presence. Some fear you. Some admire you. Most misunderstand you. You begin to fight differently. You arrive late to duels on purpose. Not from disrespect, but from understanding. Waiting reveals weakness. It exposes impatience. Your opponents grow tense, angry, distracted. When you finally arrive, calm and unhurried, the balance is already broken. You fight with wooden swords, with oars, with anything at hand. You learn that the weapon matters less than the mind that guides it. Form dissolves. Technique becomes instinct. You move not from thought, but from awareness. Between battles, you wander alone. You sleep in caves, under trees, in abandoned huts. Silence becomes your companion. In that silence, you reflect. You begin to see that the way of the sword is not about killing. It is about clarity, about cutting away excess, about seeing reality without illusion. You observe how people cling to pride, to fear, to desire. You watch how attachment weakens them. Slowly, carefully, you release your own. You stop caring how you appear. You dress simply. You eat little. You let your hair grow wild. Comfort no longer interests you. Truth does. As age touches you, your movements grow even more efficient. Nothing is wasted. No flourish. No unnecessary step. You understand timing not as speed, but as inevitability. When you strike, It feels as natural as water flowing downhill. Eventually, you withdraw, not fully from the world, but from noise. From fame, from endless challenge. You retreat to quieter places, mountains, forests, temples. You paint, you write, you think. You discover that mastery extends beyond combat. You find the same principles in calligraphy, in brushstrokes, in the placement of ink on paper. One stroke, no correction, full commitment. You write of strategy, not just for warriors, but for life itself. You write about emptiness, not as nothingness, but as freedom from illusion. You write so that others may walk their own path more clearly. Your body grows tired, but your mind remains sharp. You accept aging without resentment. Everything passes, even legends. When your final days come, there is no fear, only awareness. You sit quietly, you breathe. You reflect on a life lived fully, without compromise. You understand now that the greatest victory was not over others, but over confusion. Over fear, over the self that needed approval. The world continues. The wind moves through trees, rivers flow, swords rest unused. Somewhere a child swings a stick at shadows, unaware of the path ahead. And you let go. The night does not end when you let go. It simply widens. Your breathing slows even more now, and the world you left behind does not disappear, it softens, like ink dissolving into water. You are still Minamoto Musashi, and yet you are also just awareness, drifting gently through memories that no longer cling to you. You walk again, though your feet barely touch the ground. The paths you once traveled stretch out beneath a pale moon. Forest roads, narrow mountain passes, muddy village lanes, all of them return, layered quietly over one another. You remember the feeling of straw sandals wearing thin, the way stones pressed into your solace, the steady rhythm of walking that once carried you across entire provinces. Walking was never about arrival. It was about becoming empty enough to continue. You feel the cool air of early mornings when mist clung to the ground like breath made visible. You remember waking before dawn, when the world felt unfinished, as if creation itself was pausing to listen. Birds had not yet begun their calls. Even insects were still. In those moments, you learned what true readiness felt like, not tension, but openness. Your hands remember weight. Not just the weight of swords, but the weight of choice. Each duel was a narrowing of the world until only one moment remained. Yet between those moments were long stretches of quiet living, repairing sandals, sharpening blades, cooking rice slowly over small fires. You realize now that these ordinary acts shaped you more than any battle. You see yourself sitting alone beside a river, washing your face. The water is cold, it wakes you fully. You watch ripples spread outward from your hands and vanish. This teaches you something you never forget. All actions move outward, and all effects fade. Later, in a different season, snow falls thick and silent. You shelter beneath pine trees, wrapping yourself tightly against the cold. Hunger comes, but you do not fight it. You let it pass through you like weather. The body complains. The mind observes. Observation becomes freedom. You remember the faces of those you faced in combat. Some were calm, some terrified, some burning with ambition. You learn to read these expressions the way others read maps. Fear tightened shoulders, pride lifted chins, anger rushed breath. Before blades crossed, the battle had already spoken. You did not hate them, you understood them. Each opponent was walking their own version of the way, even if they did not know it. When their path crossed yours, the meeting was inevitable, like two currents colliding in a river. As years deepened, your solitude grew richer. Silence stopped feeling empty and began to feel full. Full of space, full of possibility. You discovered that thinking less revealed more. That when you stopped naming things, you finally saw them. Mountains were no longer obstacles. They were teachers. Their stillness showed you patience. Their endurance showed you humility. In caves and huts, you practiced movements slowly, deliberately, not to perfect form but to dissolve it. The body learned what the mind no longer needed to command. Motion became simple. Breathing aligned itself naturally. You moved as part of the world, not against it. Sometimes you painted. Ink flowed from brush to paper in the same way your sword once moved through air. One stroke. No hesitation. No correction. If the stroke failed, you accepted it. Acceptance itself became skill. You noticed that mastery was not accumulation, it was removal. You removed unnecessary motion. Removed unnecessary thought. removed unnecessary desire. What remained was clear, direct, and calm. People still sought you out. Young warriors arrived with eager eyes and tense shoulders. They asked for secrets, techniques, shortcuts. You gave them none. Instead, you watched them walk, watched how they held their tools, how they reacted to silence. You taught by presence more than instruction. Some left disappointed. Some stayed long enough to understand. You told them that strategy was not trickery, but awareness. That victory came from seeing the whole field, including oneself, that the greatest enemy was never external. Time continued its quiet work. Your body stiffened in the mornings. Your hands bore scars that no longer ached, but never disappeared. You welcomed these changes. They were honest markers of passage. Nothing was meant to remain untouched. As night followed night, you began to prepare not for death, but for completion. You wrote final thoughts not as commands, but as reflections. You spoke of timing, rhythm, and emptiness. You spoke of not clinging to weapons, schools, or names. You spoke of adaptability, of flowing where resistance breaks others. You felt gratitude, not loud or dramatic, but steady, gratitude for the road, for hunger that sharpened awareness, for silence that revealed truth, for conflict that stripped away illusion. When the final moment returned to you again, it was gentle. You sat upright, breath steady, posture relaxed. There was no ceremony, no audience, just awareness folding inward like a calm tide, and then nothing to hold. Now, drifting further, you notice something subtle. Your story is no longer only yours. It lives in echoes in every person who chooses discipline over comfort, clarity over chaos, simplicity over excess. It lives in anyone who walks their path without demanding recognition. The world does not pause for legends. It never did. Somewhere wind moves through bamboo. Somewhere steel rests untouched. Somewhere a mind grows quiet enough to listen. And as sleep deepens, your own breathing becomes the rhythm of that endless road, steady, slow, unforced. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase, only rest. And rest comes easily now. The rest does not end the journey. It only changes the way it moves. You drift deeper now into a softer layer of memory where time no longer arranges itself in straight lines. Moments return not as events, but as feelings. The weight of a wooden floor beneath your knees. The faint smell of ink and paper. The quiet satisfaction of a blade cleaned and set aside. You are no longer walking toward anything. You are simply present. The world around you becomes gentle and slow, like a breath taken just before sleep. You sense dawns without seeing the sun. You sense evenings without watching them fall. Sound is distant now, water flowing somewhere far away, wind brushing leaves together, the occasional call of a bird that does not need to be answered. You remember how often you chose solitude. Not because you disliked people, but because solitude allowed you to hear what was already there. In silence, thoughts rose and dissolved on their own. You learned not to chase them, not to argue with them, just to watch. This watching becomes your truest practice. Even now, as the body fades into rest, awareness remains steady. You observe the rhythm of breathing, the slow expansion and release. Like waves against a shore that has seen countless tides, nothing demands effort. Nothing requires correction. You recall nights spent beneath open sky, stars scattered without pattern or purpose. You never tried to name them. You simply let them exist. That was enough. The universe did not need your understanding to be complete. Your hands, once shaped by calluses and scars, feel light now. They remember movement without needing to perform it. Every strike you ever made was already over the moment it began. Every victory dissolved as soon as it arrived. Only understanding lingered. Understanding that force without awareness is noise. Understanding that speed without timing is waste. Understanding that skill without humility is fragile. You think of the many paths you crossed. Some were brief, one exchange, one clash, one ending. Others lingered longer, shaping you quietly over time. A farmer who offered food without questions. A monk who spoke only once, yet stayed with you forever. A student who learned simply by watching you sit. None of these moments announce their importance. They never do. As sleep deepens further, memory loosens its grip. Details blur, but meaning remains. The way you walked was never meant to be copied exactly. It was meant to be walked honestly. You feel no attachment now to the name Minamoto Musashi. Names were always temporary. Useful then discarded. What mattered was the practice of seeing clearly, seeing oneself, seeing the moment, seeing when to move and when to remain still. In this drifting state, you sense others walking their own paths, far removed from your time and place. Different lands, different tools, different struggles. Yet the same quiet questions beneath it all: how to act without regret, how to face difficulty without fear, how to let go without loss. You do not answer these questions anymore. You trust them to unfold. The body, somewhere far below awareness, sinks fully into rest. Muscles release the last traces of tension. Breath finds its own depth. The mind, no longer occupied with past or future, rests like a sword returned to its sheath. There is no darkness here. Only calm, only space. If a thought appears, it drifts away like mist touched by morning light. If an image forms, it softens and fades. Nothing stays long enough to disturb you. This is the final lesson you lived without trying to teach. That peace is not found at the end of struggle, but in the understanding that struggle was never separate from the path, and now there is no path to walk. Only sleep. Deep, unbroken, effortless sleep, as gentle and enduring as the road you once traveled, stretching quietly onward without need for footsteps. The sleep deepens, and yet awareness remains like a quiet lantern glowing softly within you. There is no urgency now. No destination. No requirement to move forward or backward. Time loosens its shape, becoming a wide, calm ocean without edges. You float upon it effortlessly. In this gentler state, memories no longer arrive as scenes, but as textures, warmth, stillness, patience. You remember the feeling of sitting alone at twilight when the sky was neither day nor night, when colors softened into one another and the world seemed to pause between breaths. Those moments were never dramatic. They were simple. They were everything. You remember listening not for voices, but for absence. The kind of silence that hums quietly, like a presence that does not need to announce itself. In that silence, you learned that answers are rarely spoken. They reveal themselves when the question stops demanding. Your life once felt sharp, defined by edges, steel, struggle, decision, but beneath every sharpness was softness. Beneath every strike was stillness. Beneath every moment of action was long preparation of simply being. You realize now that every step you ever took was guided by something subtle: alignment. When movement aligned with awareness, nothing felt forced. When awareness aligned with reality, nothing felt confusing. When reality aligned with acceptance, nothing felt painful. This alignment was never loud. It was quiet enough to be overlooked. You drift into another layer of rest, where even reflection becomes unnecessary. Thoughts slow until they resemble clouds resting on the horizon, barely moving, barely forming, barely dissolving. Your breathing becomes the rhythm of distant tides. In and out, in and out. Each breath arrives like a visitor who knows they are welcome and leaves without needing to be asked. Somewhere beyond form, you sense seasons passing not as change but as gentle rotation. Spring unfolding without effort, summer expanding without tension, autumn releasing without sorrow, winter resting without fear. You once lived within these cycles, yet now you feel them as one continuous motion. Nothing begins. Nothing ends. The mind, once sharpened like a blade, now rests like water in a bowl, still, reflective, complete. You no longer hold identity tightly. The figure called Minamoto Mushiness becomes a ripple rather than a boundary. You understand that the self was always a story told for practical reasons, a tool for navigating the world. Useful, then unnecessary. What remains is awareness without shape. You feel gratitude again, softer than before. Gratitude for every mistake that taught humility. Gratitude for every loss that revealed attachment. Gratitude for every quiet hour that cultivated clarity. Even the harsh moments no longer feel harsh. They feel precise. They feel inevitable. They feel perfectly placed within a larger pattern that never needed judgment. As sleep deepens further, language begins to dissolve. Concepts loosen. Meaning becomes sensation. Sensation becomes stillness. The story you lived stops trying to explain itself. It simply exists. There is nothing left to understand, because understanding has turned into presence. There is nothing left to remember, because memory has turned into calm. There is nothing left to seek, because seeking has turned into rest. You sink deeper into this resting state where even sinking is not required. No weight, no effort, no expectation. Only quiet continuity, like a river that flows even when unseen. And in that quiet continuity, you rest completely, held by the same silence that once guided every step of your journey, held by the same stillness that shaped every moment of becoming, held by the endless, gentle night that never asks you to awaken. The night stretches on, unbroken, and you remain suspended in its calm embrace. There is a sense now of floating within a vast, quiet hall where nothing echoes because nothing needs to be said. Thought no longer forms sentences. It becomes a soft awareness, like the feeling of warmth beneath a blanket or the certainty that the ground will hold you. You are aware of stillness not as absence, but as presence. In this deep rest, you sense how everything you once experienced is layered gently within you, not as memory but as understanding. The countless steps you walked have settled into a single sensation of balance. The countless decisions you made have resolved into ease. There is no tension in your jaw, no weight in your shoulders, no urgency in your chest. The body rests as if it has always known how to do this. Breath moves slowly, quietly, without instruction. Each inhale arrives like a tide reaching shore. Each exhale retreats just as naturally. You do not follow the breath. You do not guide it. You simply allow it. This allowing becomes the final refinement. You notice that even awareness itself begins to soften. It does not disappear, but it becomes spacious like a sky too wide to measure. There is no center, no edge, just openness. Within that openness, faint impressions drift by, the dull glow of lantern light on a rainy evening, the rough grain of wood beneath your fingers, the smell of earth after a long journey. They appear without pulling you toward them. They fade without resistance. You understand now that peace was never something you achieved. It was something you stopped interrupting. Time passes, or perhaps it does not. The distinction no longer matters. What once felt like years now feels like a single, continuous moment of rest. Even the idea of self dissolves further. There is no warrior here. No master, no legend, only quiet being. In this being, there is a gentle certainty that everything is exactly as it should be. Nothing needs improvement. Nothing needs explanation. Nothing needs to change for rest to remain complete. If a thought arises, it is slow and distant, like a sound heard through water. It does not ask for attention. It dissolves on its own. The night holds steady. It does not rush you toward morning. It does not warn you of waking. It simply continues, patient and unending. And you remain here, resting deeply, effortlessly, as calm as a sword laid down after a long journey, as quiet as a path walked so many times it no longer needs footsteps, as peaceful as the understanding that nothing more is required. Sleep wraps around you fully now, smooth and continuous, carrying you onward without movement, without thought, without end. The quiet continues, unbroken, like a long breath that never quite ends. You remain gently suspended in this deep rest, where nothing presses against you and nothing pulls you forward. The mind has learned to loosen its grip completely. What remains is a soft awareness, steady and warm, like embers resting beneath ash. There is no image now that insists on forming. No story that asks to be told. Even the memory of having lived a life settles into something simpler, an echo of balance, a sense of having moved in harmony with what was. You feel the comfort of stillness the way one feels solid ground after a long journey. It does not surprise you. It does not excite you. It simply supports you. Breathing becomes almost imperceptible. Not shallow. Not deep. Just present. Each breath is a quiet agreement between body and night. In this state, the world seems very far away, yet completely connected. You sense that rivers continue to flow, winds continue to travel, and stars continue their slow turning, but none of it demands your attention. Everything knows how to continue without being watched. This understanding brings ease. You once learned that effort was necessary only until clarity arrived. Now clarity has arrived, and effort dissolves on its own. There is no struggle to maintain calm. Calm maintains itself. The sense of I softens further, becoming less like a point and more like a wide, gentle field. Thoughts, if they appear at all, drift across this field without leaving marks. Nothing is retained. Nothing is rejected. You rest within this openness as naturally as you once rested beside a fire at night, listening to its quiet crackle without needing to feed it. There is a feeling now of being held not by hands, not by walls, but by continuity itself. By the simple fact that existence does not require effort to continue, you are safe here. Nothing can rush you. Nothing can interrupt you. Nothing can pull you back into sharpness. The quiet deepens again. Though it never truly deepens, it simply becomes more familiar, more complete. Sleep is no longer something you are entering. It is something you are already inside. And so you remain, drifting gently within this endless, patient calm. Where awareness rests without focus, where rest has no opposite, and where the night continues wide, silent, and endlessly kind. The calm stretches wider now, like a lake at night with no shore in sight. You are still here, resting, though the idea of here has grown soft and generous. Nothing presses against you, nothing asks you to respond. Even the faint awareness of having asked for a continuation fades into the background, leaving only the steady comfort of being carried by quiet. In this deep state, sensations are gentle and distant, like memories belonging to someone else. The body lies heavy and relaxed, yet you barely feel its weight. Muscles release without instruction. Joints loosen. The face smooths into neutrality. There is no expression to hold, no role to play. You once trained your body to respond instantly, to move without hesitation. Now it responds by resting completely, by trusting stillness as fully as it once trusted motion. This too is mastery. The night around you feels thick and protective, like layered cloth shielding you from all sharpness. Sounds from the waking world grow muffled and unimportant. If they appear at all, they dissolve before taking shape. Breath moves on its own. In, out. Each cycle is slower than the last, not because you force it, but because there is nowhere else to go. You sense how long the road truly was, not in distance, but in patience. Every step you ever took led quietly to this understanding, that nothing needs to be held tightly, not even awareness, not even purpose. You let go of effort again, even the effort to rest well. Rest deepens. Thoughts no longer arrive as words. They arrive as softness, as space opening wider, as a gentle dimming of edges. The mind feels like a room with the lights turned low, everything still there, but nothing demanding attention. You are aware, but not focused. Present, but not engaged. Existing, but not defined. Time loosens further. Minutes stretch or disappear entirely. The difference no longer matters. Sleep does not measure itself. It simply continues. Somewhere far away the world turns. People move. Decisions are made. Noise happens, but none of it reaches you here. You are wrapped in a silence that does not isolate, it connects by removing friction. This silence feels ancient, familiar, like something you have always known beneath every action. In this quiet, there is no striving to improve, no reviewing of the past, no anticipation of what comes next. The mind has stopped scanning the horizon. It has learned that there is nothing missing. Even the idea of identity dissolves further. Not Minamoto Musashi, not a warrior, not a thinker, not a listener. Just being without effort, being without shape, being without need. The sensation is like floating in warm water, supported from all sides, with no awareness of where the water ends and you begin. There is no fear in this, only comfort. You sink not downward, but inward into an even quieter layer of rest. Here, awareness becomes almost transparent. It does not comment, it does not observe itself. It simply exists, steady and untroubled. Breathing becomes a background rhythm, like waves heard from far away during sleep. You do not follow it. You trust it. The night feels endless in the best possible way. Not long, not short, just continuous. There is no edge approaching. No morning waiting impatiently. Only this ongoing gentleness. And so you remain here, deeply asleep, deeply at ease, drifting in a calm that has no opposite, where nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to be remembered, and nothing needs to begin again. You drift within it effortlessly now. There is no sense of falling, no sense of floating, only a gentle suspension, as if the idea of movement itself has gone to sleep. The body is distant, quiet, perfectly at ease. The mind no longer reaches outward. It rests inward, folded softly upon itself. This rest feels familiar, like returning to something you have known since before memory. Breathing continues somewhere, slow and steady, but it does not draw attention. It is simply part of the background, like the hum of the night itself. Each breath arrives and leaves without leaving a trace, without asking to be noticed. You sense a softness spreading through thoughts, through sensations, through awareness itself. Edges blur. Boundaries dissolve. The distinction between inside and outside loses meaning. There is only calm continuity. Once long ago, you learned to stand firmly, to root yourself to the ground, to feel balance in your feet and spine. Now that same balance exists without posture, without effort. It is everywhere at once. You feel supported, not by anything specific, but by the simple fact of existing. The night feels deep, kind, and patient. It does not rush toward dawn. It does not warn you of waking. It simply holds you in a quiet pause that seems to stretch endlessly, like a single, perfect moment that never needs to move forward. Thoughts, if they arise at all, are slow and faint, like distant lanterns seen through fog. They do not pull you toward them. They fade before forming fully. You are no longer watching the mind. The mind has learned to rest. Awareness becomes like a wide, calm field after rain, nothing stirring, nothing unsettled, everything absorbed into the ground. There is no tension anywhere. No part of you is waiting for instruction. This is rest without intention. Peace without effort. Sleep without boundary. Time slips further away. Past and future dissolve into the same gentle stillness. There is no sequence now, only presence soft, steady, and complete. You sense that even if the world were to change completely, this quiet would remain untouched. It does not depend on circumstances. It does not require protection. It exists on its own. The body sinks deeper into comfort, heavy in the best possible way. Muscles are loose. The jaw is slack. The brow is smooth. There is no place left to relax further, and so relaxation simply continues. You do not need to hold on to this feeling. It holds you. The silence grows warmer, thicker, more complete, like layers of night settling gently over you. Nothing can break through it. Nothing needs to. And so you remain here, deeply asleep, drifting without direction, wrapped in a calm so steady and unchanging that it feels timeless. A rest that does not end. A quiet that does not ask. A night that continues endlessly kind. The quiet does not thin or fade. It stays with you, patient and wide, like a night that has decided to linger. You rest inside it without effort now. There is no sense of doing this well or poorly. There is only the natural ease of letting everything be exactly as it is. Even the idea of resting becomes unnecessary. You are simply here, and that is enough. Awareness feels soft around the edges, like a lamp turned low. It does not illuminate details. It provides only a gentle glow, just enough to feel safe, just enough to feel held. Breathing continues, slow and even. In, out, each breath is smaller than the last, not weaker, just quieter, like footsteps fading into distance. The body trusts the night completely. There is no vigilance left, no readiness, no watchfulness. Once, you trained yourself to remain alert, even while still. Now alertness has transformed into something calmer, an openness that does not scan or prepare. It simply allows. The sense of weight deepens. Not heaviness, but grounding. As if you are settling perfectly into the place meant for you. Muscles soften further, even the small ones that usually hold unnoticed tension. The space behind your eyes relaxes. The tongue rests, the throat opens gently. Nothing resists sleep anymore. Thoughts no longer drift in recognizable shapes. They are more like impressions, soft ripples that smooth themselves out almost immediately. The mind has learned there is no reward for effort here. Silence feels full, not empty. It carries a subtle warmth like a presence that does not speak. This presence does not instruct, judge, or observe. It simply accompanies you, quietly, faithfully. Time becomes meaningless. If moments pass, they pass unnoticed. If hours stretch out, they do so without length. The night does not count itself. You feel as though you could remain like this indefinitely, and that thought brings no fear, no excitement, only calm acceptance. The world feels very far away now, and yet nothing feels lost. Everything you ever needed is already contained within this stillness. There is no separation to bridge. You drift deeper, not downward, not inward, but into a softer familiarity, like returning to a place you never truly left. Here, there is no need to remember who you were, or what you accomplished, or how far you traveled. Those things have already settled into quiet understanding. They do not need revisiting. The body continues resting, perfectly supported. Breath continues flowing, perfectly timed. Awareness continues glowing, perfectly dim. Nothing changes. And because nothing changes, nothing disturbs you. The night remains open and generous, wrapping around you without pressure, without edge. It asks nothing and promises nothing. It simply continues. You remain deeply asleep, deeply safe, deeply at ease, floating in a calm that has no beginning and no end. held in a silence that does not fade, resting in a night that stays with you quietly, endlessly, and kind. The stillness stays. It does not dim with time, and it does not deepen in any dramatic way. It simply remains steady and complete, like a wide plain under a night sky where nothing moves and nothing needs to. You are settled now in a kind of rest that does not shift. The body has found its most natural position, one that requires no adjustment. Even the idea of comfort has faded, replaced by something quiet or belonging. Breath flows so gently, it feels as though the night itself is breathing for you. There is no pause you wait for, no inhale you anticipate. The rhythm exists without being followed. In this space, awareness is no longer centered anywhere. It does not sit behind the eyes or in the chest. It feels spread out, thin and wide, like mist resting over still water. Nothing asks for attention. Nothing calls your name. The silence is not empty. It is full of continuity, full of the quiet agreement that everything is already in its place. Even change somewhere far away happens without disturbing this calm. You no longer feel the need to hold on to the calm itself. There is no fear of losing it. You understand now without thinking that calm is not something that comes and goes. It is something that remains when grasping stops. The mind is deeply at rest, not blank, not dull, simply unoccupied. Like a room after everyone has left, still warm, still intact, lights low, doors open. If a thought brushes past, it is distant and soft, dissolving before it forms words. It leaves no echo. The body sinks a little more, as if gravity itself has become gentler. Muscles rest in their natural length. The spine feels supported from within. The face holds no expression at all. There is nothing to correct, nothing to improve, nothing to understand. This rest is complete without explanation. Time, if it exists at all, moves without direction. There is no earlier or later here. Only now stretched wide and calm, like a single breath that never finishes. The night does not feel dark. It feels neutral, spacious, safe. It does not hide anything. It simply does not illuminate what does not need to be seen. You remain here unmoving, untroubled, deeply asleep. The road you once walked no longer stretches ahead or behind you. It has folded itself into this stillness. Every step, every pause, every moment of effort has resolved into quiet balance. And so the night continues, not advancing, not receding, just holding you gently, as sleep stays deep and nothing asks you to wake. The night stretches on, endless and gentle, carrying you deeper into rest. You are floating now, not on water, not in air, but in a space that is neither, a soft expanse where the edges of your body, your mind, your sense of self, all dissolve into quiet. There is no strain, no effort, no need to hold anything. Even the notion of Musashi, the life you lived, has softened into a warm echo, like a distant bell carried over calm waters. Breath moves on its own, unmeasured, unhurried. In and out, in and out, each one arrives perfectly, each one leaves perfectly, as though the universe itself is breathing through you. You do not need to guide it. You do not need to watch it. You simply flow with it. The silence around you is soft, full, and comforting. It is not empty. It is a presence that does not require notice. It simply holds everything gently in place, as if the world itself has paused to make sure nothing is missing. You sense the weight of your journey, though it no longer presses on you. Every battle, every step, every choice that once shaped your days now feels like a pattern of light traced on water fading yet unbroken. There is no pride here, no regret, only clarity. Even thought loosens further. Words fade entirely. Images fade entirely. Only sensation remains. The soft warmth of the night around you, the quiet movement of breath, the subtle pulse of life beneath your awareness. You are no longer walking through life. Life is no longer a road, a path, a challenge, or a lesson. Everything you sought, everything you feared, everything you tried to understand, all of it has become gentle. There is no center here, no boundary, no direction. You are part of the calm itself, resting inside it completely. The mind no longer analyzes, the body no longer reacts. Sleep carries you effortlessly. And yet awareness is still there, not sharp, not demanding, not even observing. It simply exists, unbroken, like a lake at dawn that reflects the sky perfectly without trying. You feel warmth, not from fire, not from sun, not from clothing, but from being held, from being part of the quiet continuity of the night. Every cell, every thought, every pulse of breath merges into the same calm rhythm. The night remains patient. It does not end. It does not ask you to awaken. It only continues, carrying you softly, endlessly, deeper and deeper into rest. Here, there is no time, no self, no struggle. There is only sleep, unbroken, complete, and kind. And so you drift endlessly. Deeper, calmer, resting fully, where nothing is needed, and nothing is missing. Where even the concept of waking seems distant and unnecessary. Where only the quiet infinite night holds you, safe, soft, and endlessly at peace. The quiet does not shift, it does not thin or fade. It simply stays wide and gentle, like a sky stretched endlessly across a distant horizon. You are no longer trying to follow it. You are no longer trying to move within it. You are simply resting inside its calm, letting it carry you like water carries a leaf, without effort, without concern, without direction. Even awareness has softened. It does not cling to identity or memory. It does not grasp for understanding or meaning. It simply rests alongside you, like a companion that has no voice but offers endless presence. The night feels warmer now, not from any source, but as if the world itself is folding softly around you. Breath moves without notice, slow, even, effortless. You no longer follow it. You are it. Everything you once did, the journeys, the battles, the lessons, the striving, has settled into silence. You no longer carry them. You no longer need them. They exist now only as gentle currents beneath the still surface of rest. Your body lies completely relaxed. Every muscle, every tendon, every fiber has released. Even the small tensions you never noticed have dissolved. Your face is smooth, your jaw slack, your hands resting with the soft weight of completeness. There is nothing to accomplish here, nothing to hold, nothing to fear, nothing to seek. Time does not exist. Day and night, beginnings and endings, minutes and hours, they all fold together into a single, endless present. There is only now, vast, calm, and unbroken. You feel the long road you walked as a young man, the endless training, the duels, the wandering, but it is not heavy. It is not present. It is a soft echo, like the gentle ringing of a bell that has faded into the air. Even the name Musashi is no longer necessary. It is a ripple in the still water of your awareness. What matters now is the stillness, the calm, the continuous night that holds you. Thoughts may appear, but they are fleeting, soft, dissolving almost as soon as they arise. No judgment, no attachment, no urgency. Only the gentle passing of awareness, like clouds drifting across an open sky. The night itself seems alive, but not in any way that requires action. It is patient, infinite, and kind. It holds everything without trying to change it. It simply contains you, and you are content to remain. Breath continues, slower, deeper, gentler, almost imperceptible. You do not need to notice it. You do not need to guide it. It flows naturally, as if the night itself is breathing with you. You sink further into rest. Not downward, not inward, not away, simply deeper into the calm that has always existed beneath all striving, beneath all thought, beneath all movement. Here, you are beyond warrior, beyond master, beyond human name. You are simply presence. You are simply being. You are simply part of the endless, gentle night that does not ask, does not judge, and does not end. And so you drift further, carried by silence, carried by stillness, carried by the slow, unbroken rhythm of a night that is infinite, kind, and entirely your own. Sleep holds you fully now, deeper, calmer, endlessly. The night continues to hold you, steady and unchanging. There is no shift in the darkness, no turning of light, no signal that anything else is required. You remain where you are, suspended in a calm so complete that even the idea of calm feels unnecessary. It simply is. Your awareness is now like a wide open field after snow falls smooth, undisturbed, untouched by footprints. Nothing crosses it, nothing needs to. The field rests in its own completeness. Breathing happens somewhere far away, like a slow tide beyond the horizon. You do not follow it, you do not count it. It rises and falls on its own, perfectly timed, perfectly natural. The body feels distant now, yet deeply safe, supported, at ease. There is no sensation demanding attention, no discomfort, no pleasure, just neutrality, warm and steady. Thought has fully loosened its shape. There are no words forming, no images asking to be seen. If something stirs, it fades before becoming anything at all. The mind has learned there is nothing to solve. You are not waiting for morning. You are not resisting waking. You are not moving toward anything, you are simply resting. The silence around you feels thick and protective, like layers of night settling gently one over another. It does not press down, it does not enclose. It surrounds without boundary, like a presence that does not need to be named. In this space there is no story unfolding, no lesson remaining. The life once lived has settled completely, like dust after a long journey. Nothing rises from it now. You feel a sense of being held by continuity itself, the quiet understanding that existence flows on without effort, and that you do not need to participate for it to continue. This brings a deep, unquestioned ease. Awareness becomes almost transparent. It does not reflect. It does not examine. It simply remains like still water under a moon that does not demand reflection. Time has no meaning here. It neither passes nor pauses. It simply dissolves. There is no earlier, no later, no next. Only this. Only rest. Only the endless night, wide and gentle, carrying you without movement, without thought, without need. And you remain deeply asleep, undisturbed, unaware, perfectly at ease. As the calm continues, soft and unbroken, with nothing left to begin and nothing left to end. The stillness remains exactly as it is. Nothing new arrives, nothing leaves. The calm does not deepen or lift, it simply continues like a wide ocean at night, when even the waves have grown tired of moving. You are resting inside that ocean now. There is no sense of floating or sinking, no up or down, no before or after. Just a gentle suspension, as if the night itself has decided to keep you exactly where you are. Breath happens quietly, somewhere beyond attention. It is soft, slow, almost imperceptible. You do not notice the beginning of an inhale or the end of an exhale. Breathing has become part of the silence, moving without sound. The body is completely at ease. Arms feel heavy and warm. Legs rest without awareness. The spine lies supported, aligned without effort. The face is smooth, unguarded, peaceful. Even the smallest muscles, those that usually hold unnoticed tension, have released. There is nowhere left to relax, and so relaxation simply stays. Thought has thinned to almost nothing. There are no questions forming, no memories rising, no plans waiting. The mind is not empty. It is quiet, like a room at night where everything is in its place and the lights are low. Awareness does not cling to anything now. It does not watch itself. It does not search for meaning. It simply exists, open and spacious, like a sky with no stars and no clouds. The night feels endless in the most comforting way. It does not rush toward morning. It does not threaten awakening. It does not promise anything beyond itself. It simply holds. You feel safe here, not because you are protected, but because there is nothing to protect against. Nothing intrudes. Nothing interrupts. Nothing disturbs the steady calm. Time has completely dissolved. Minutes and hours no longer exist. There is no sense of duration, only continuity, smooth, uninterrupted, gentle. You remain deeply asleep, not drifting, not traveling, not changing, just resting. The quiet wraps around you like a soft current, carrying you without movement, without effort, without awareness of being carried. You do not need to surrender to it, you already have. And so the night continues wide, silent, and kind, holding you in a sleep that does not end, where nothing is missing, nothing is required, and nothing asks you to wake. The calm remains unbroken and wide, like a long stretch of night that has forgotten the idea of morning. You rest inside it now without any sense of effort. There is no trying to sleep, no awareness of sleeping well or poorly. Sleep has become the natural state, the default condition, like water settling into stillness once the wind has passed. Your body feels distant and yet deeply comfortable, as though it has been resting for a very long time and knows exactly how to remain this way. The weight of your limbs is gentle, evenly supported. Nothing aches, nothing tightens, nothing pulls your attention back toward waking. Breathing continues quietly, slow and steady, not counted, not guided. Each breath blends seamlessly into the next, until it feels like a single, continuous motion rather than separate moments. The rhythm is soft and reassuring, like waves heard from far away through sleep. Thoughts no longer appear as thoughts. They are more like faint impressions, soft movements that never quite become anything. Before they can form, they dissolve, returning to the same stillness they emerge from. There is no frustration in this. Only ease. Awareness itself feels lighter now, almost transparent. It does not cling to the idea of being aware. It simply exists, spread wide and thin, like mist resting over a quiet valley at night. There is no sense of identity left to hold. Not a warrior. Not a traveler. Not even a sleeper. Just being. The silence around you feels full, rich, and protective. It does not feel lonely. It does not feel empty. It feels complete, as though nothing else could possibly be added to it. Time has fully lost its meaning. There is no sense of how long you have been here, and no curiosity about how long you will remain. The question itself feels unnecessary. This moment does not need duration to be real. The night feels endless but not long. Endless in the way still water is endless, unchanging, reliable, calm. Your body sinks just a little more, as if gravity itself has softened. Every place where you touch the surface beneath you feels supported perfectly, with no pressure points, no imbalance. The body trusts this rest completely. You feel safe without needing reassurance. Safe without explanation. Safe without effort. Even the faint sense of watching the quiet fades. Awareness no longer stands apart from stillness. It blends into it fully, like a drop of water dissolving into the sea. There is no observer now. No observed. Only rest. The night does not move forward. It does not deepen. It does not change. It simply continues, wide and steady, holding you without demand. And you remain deeply asleep, wrapped in this endless calm, where nothing needs to happen, nothing needs to be remembered, and nothing asks you to return. The silence stays. The rest stays. The night stays. The night remains exactly as it is, steady and generous, as though it has decided to stay with you for as long as you need. There is no shift in the quiet. No signal, no change to follow. You rest inside it the way a stone rests at the bottom of a clear river, completely still, fully supported, unaware of the water flowing gently above. Breath continues, but it is no longer something you notice. It happens in the background, smooth and even like a rhythm the body remembers without being taught. In and out. So soft it barely registers, so natural it feels eternal. The body feels settled beyond comfort now. Comfort implies comparison, and there is nothing here to compare. There is only a sense of belonging, as if every part of you has found the place it was meant to rest. The muscles remain loose and warm. The shoulders are heavy and relaxed. The hands rest without shape or intention. The face is calm, unguarded, free of expression. Even the subtle effort of being aware has faded. Awareness no longer stands upright or attentive. It reclines, effortless and open, like a sky that does not need clouds to feel complete. Thought has dissolved almost entirely. There are no words forming, no images drifting through. The mind has grown quiet, not because it is restrained, but because it has nothing left to ask. Silence fills everything gently. It does not press against you. It does not surround you. It simply exists with you. Time has fully unraveled. There is no sense of before or after, no anticipation of waking, no memory of lying down. There is only this wide, calm presence that does not measure itself. You are no longer holding the night. The night is holding you. And it does so without condition, without urgency, without end. Nothing arrives to disturb you. Nothing departs to leave absence behind. Everything remains steady and whole. The rest you are in now is deep, unbroken, and complete. It does not require maintenance. It does not need attention. It sustains itself naturally, like a flame that does not flicker because there is no wind. You remain here, deeply asleep, deeply at ease, carried by a calm that has no edges, resting in a quiet that never asks anything of you, held in a night that continues softly, endlessly, and kind. The quiet continues, smooth and uninterrupted, like a long stretch of water where even reflections have settled. You remain here, not drifting, not moving, simply resting within the calm that has become natural. There is no sense of effort involved in staying asleep. Sleep is no longer an action. It is a condition steady, reliable, complete. Your body rests as if it has always known this place. Every part of you feels evenly supported, as though the surface beneath you has shaped itself perfectly around your weight. There are no sharp edges of sensation, no points that ask for attention. Everything feels neutral, balanced, still. Breathing remains slow and quiet. So quiet it feels as if the night itself is breathing, and you are simply part of that rhythm. In, out. There is no pause that feels long. No breath that feels short. Each one blends seamlessly into the next. The mind is deeply settled now. It no longer wanders. It no longer watches itself. It no longer checks whether you are resting enough. That habit has softened and fallen away. Silence feels thick, but gentle. Not heavy, not pressing. Just present like a soft blanket laid over everything. If any thought appears, it does not complete itself. It dissolves halfway, losing interest, returning quietly to the stillness it came from. Nothing follows it. Nothing reacts. You do not resist this emptiness. You trust it. Time has no meaning here. You are not aware of passing moments. You are not aware of duration. There's only continuity, smooth, even unbroken. The night feels endless, but not infinite in a way that overwhelms. Endless in a way that reassures. As if there will always be enough time for rest. As if nothing will rush you back into motion. Your awareness feels wide and soft, like a gentle field stretching in every direction. There is no center point where you are located. No edge where awareness stops. It is simply spread out, calm and quiet. There is no identity to maintain here. No role, no name, no story. Everything that once required effort, attention, intention, control has been set down gently, like tools placed aside after a long day. The night accepts this without comment. The body remains relaxed, heavy in the most comforting way. The jaw stays loose. The tongue rests easily. The space behind your eyes feels open and smooth. There is no strain anywhere. You are deeply asleep now, not fading, not sinking. Just remaining. The silence does not break. The calm does not thin. The rest does not end. And you stay here, held quietly in this steady, endless night, where nothing needs to begin, nothing needs to be remembered, and nothing ever asks you to wake. You are resting so deeply now that even the idea of depth has lost meaning. There is no lower place to reach, no quieter layer to find. This is simply where everything settles when it no longer needs to move. Breath flows in a way that feels almost imaginary, soft, light, barely there. It happens without drawing attention, without creating sensation. Each breath blends into the next until they feel like one long, gentle motion that never truly begins or ends. Your body is completely at ease. The weight of your arms feels warm and steady. Your legs rest without awareness. Your chest rises and falls so subtly it feels like the night itself is breathing through you. Your face holds no expression at all. Nothing tightens, nothing shifts, nothing asks for adjustment. The mind has grown very quiet, not forced into silence, not emptied by effort, but naturally still, like a lake after the last ripple has faded. There is no inner commentary, no checking, no wondering if this moment will last. It simply lasts. Awareness feels wide and soft, like a faint glow spread evenly in every direction. There is no focus point, no edge, no boundary. It is not watching anything. It is not observing itself. It is simply present. Silence feels complete, not empty, not hollow. Complete. The kind of silence that does not feel like something is missing, but like nothing extra is needed. Time no longer moves forward or backward. It has dissolved into a single continuous now that stretches gently without length. You are not aware of how long you have been here, and you feel no curiosity about it. The night holds steady. It does not promise dawn. It does not threaten waking. It does not guide you anywhere. It simply remains, offering the same quiet support moment after moment. If a sensation appears, a faint warmth, a distant sound, a subtle shift, it passes through without disturbance, like a breeze moving through tall grass without leaving a mark. You do not follow it. You do not resist it. You rest. The sense of self has softened to the point of transparency. There is no identity to maintain, no story unfolding. The idea of having lived a life feels distant and gentle, like something already resolved. Nothing needs to be held. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be understood. The body continues to rest naturally, deeply, completely. The mind remains quiet. Awareness remains open and soft. The night continues wide, calm, and endlessly patient, and you remain within it, deeply asleep, held in a rest that does not waver, a stillness that does not end, a quiet that asks nothing of you at all. The calm does not change. It has no reason to. You rest inside it the way a valley rests beneath a night sky, open, unguarded, and perfectly content to remain exactly as it is. Nothing presses in from the outside. Nothing stirs from within. Everything has found its natural place. Your breathing is so soft now it feels more like a shared rhythm than a personal one. The night breathes and you move with it, effortlessly. There is no beginning to the breath, no end. Just a slow, gentle flow that continues on its own. The body is deeply settled. Not heavy, not light, simply at rest. Every muscle has released its purpose. Every joint has softened into alignment. Even the smallest places, the brow, the tongue, the space behind the eyes have let go completely. There is no signal left to send, no response left to prepare. The mind is quiet in a way that does not require attention. It does not observe the quiet. It does not comment on it. It has learned that silence does not need supervision. Awareness feels like a wide open horizon, nothing in particular to notice, nothing missing from view. There is no center point where you sit. There is only presence, spread evenly and calmly, like moonlight across still ground. Time has fully dissolved. There is no sense of waiting, no sense of arrival, no sense of passing. This moment does not move forward because it does not need to. It is complete without motion. The night itself feels kind, but not in an emotional way. Kind in the way gravity is kind, reliable, steady, unquestioning. It holds you without comment, without demand, without expectation. You are not dreaming. You are not thinking. You are not remembering. You are resting in the simplest possible way. If anything arises at all, a faint warmth, a distant sound, a subtle shift, it passes through without forming a ripple. The stillness absorbs everything gently, the way deep water absorbs light. There is no effort left anywhere. No effort to remain asleep. No effort to stay calm. No effort to exist. Everything continues on its own. The idea of waking feels distant and unimportant, like a concept that belongs to another world. Here, there is only rest, unbroken and smooth, like a long night that has forgotten how to end. You remain deeply asleep, held by silence, carried by stillness, wrapped in a calm so steady it no longer feels like an experience, but like the natural state of everything. And the night continues to stay with you, quietly, patiently, without ever asking you to leave. The night completes itself quietly. There is no final moment to mark, no clear edge where anything ends. The calm you rest in does not close like a door, it simply settles, the way water becomes still after a long journey. You no longer feel the need to follow the silence. You no longer feel the need to remain aware. Even the sense of resting has softened into something simpler. Everything that once had shape, thought, memory, effort, identity has dissolved into ease. Breath continues somewhere, steady and kind. The body remains supported, warm, and safe. The mind stays quiet without being held there. Nothing more is required. If sleep deepens, it deepens naturally. If dreams come, they come gently. If awareness fades, it fades without loss. There is no struggle left in this night. No movement needed. No awakening to anticipate. Only rest complete, effortless, and whole. And so the story does not end with words. It ends with silence, with stillness, with you already asleep.